If you didn't already know, I've been on another podcast called All About Duality, and this podcast was really all about duality. The idea of this podcast was to talk about how we can have differing opinions and we can have dual sides to ourselves and we can still understand both sides. So a lot of this also applies to emotional wellness, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the opposite side of community in this episode. Welcome to a new episode of the Amira Show, where we talk all about emotional wellness, spirituality, life philosophy, and so much more. I'm your host, Amira Sookram, and I'm the author of the Guilt-Free Goals book and upcoming book, Feelings-Based Living. I also have monthly and seasonal flow notes, which are emails that go into your inbox every month and season to tell you a little bit about the energies and things going on with the Amira Show, the book, and so much more that goes on within my world. So if you're interested, definitely join that right now so that you can get updates on everything Amira Sookram. Without further ado, we're going to be talking about the duality of community. So a couple of years ago, I went out for a drink with somebody and they told me something that has stuck with me to this day. I was talking about how I was in the phases of wanting to write a book, but not really knowing exactly what to write, and that I've just been out in the external world doing so many things. I was out and about a lot and just going out with friends. I had a lot of weddings to attend, and everything in my life felt so external. I felt like I was learning a lot from my environment after a while of working from home, being inside during the global panorama. And so I said to them that, my life feels so external, and I feel like to write this book, I have to sit with myself and go internal. And over this drink, they said, when we feel the need to go external, it's usually a sign that we should be going internal. And when we feel the need to be internal and on our own, it's usually a sign that we should be going external. And that has stuck with me to this day because I always think about how when I feel like isolating, when I feel like, I just need to be on my own, there's usually a part of me that actually really needs community support at that time. And then I think about how when I want to go external, when I want to be out and about with my friends and ignoring my emotions and just all over distracting myself, it's usually a sign to myself that I need to sit, I need to journal, I need to allow myself to daydream and get in touch with what I'm really feeling. So in last week's episode, we talked all about community support and how important it is as humans to have this sense of belonging and to feel supported by our community and have confidants, friends, and therapists or somebody to talk to lean on. And for this episode, I want to bring in that duality that not only do we need that community support and we need others, but we also need ourselves. We need to cultivate safe spaces with ourselves so that we can be, so that we can sit with ourselves and understand our feelings in a deeper way. And if we're always running to other people, we might be ignoring our intuitive nudges and our gut feelings around situations. I can have all of my friends telling me to stay away from this person, they're not good for me, but internally I might know that there's something that I have to learn through this relationship, and no one else can learn that or experience that but me. And so that's my intuition being okay, I know my friends might be right, but there's something that I have to learn here. And I can't speed up that lesson or run away from it anymore. And so what we're drawn to when we're on our own really tells us a lot about what the universe is calling us to do and to be, and who to be around. But when we're always caught up in our relationships, we might not sit with ourselves long enough to understand what is for us and what isn't. And so for today, I just wanted to bring up this reminder and this little lesson that I've learned that sitting with myself and being with my emotions is extremely important. As much as I want to always lean on community support and always have my friends help me through, talking out my emotions, sometimes I have to do that on my own. And when I do that on my own and then bring my findings to my friendships, I feel like it's so much more powerful. And I do this before I go to therapy as well. I sit with myself and I figure out, okay, what do I need to share in this session? What do I need to share to my friends? And then what questions can I ask them to help guide me at this time? I don't necessarily need people to be telling me or showing me how I feel all the time. I can also do that for myself. And so this is an encouragement that if you feel uncomfortable sitting with yourself, or if you feel uncomfortable being in a quiet space, find a way to slowly ease into that time with yourself. And it doesn't have to be completely silent. You can have like meditation music or like music without lyrics, or even if you're struggling to sit with yourself, find music that makes you feel deeply and listen to it. Take that time to dance, to sing, to listen to music, or to be out in nature and listen to the sounds of nature and be with yourself. Find that time to be alone because it's so powerful. It's so empowering to know that you don't need other people to fill your time to feel stable. It's so empowering to know that you can be on your own and be okay. That you don't always need people. But you do need people, and that's the duality. We need to have both sides of this like puzzle. We need to have the edges where we have that community. We need to have the edges where we have those one-on-one relationships. And we also need to have those edges where we can sit with ourselves and on our own, or even sit with other people in silence so that we can tune into who we are and what we need. In my book, Feelings-Based Living, I give a ton of what I call anchors, and these are things that we can use to ground ourselves in the now. And leaning on these things can really help us with getting in tune with what we need, but it also helps us spend time with ourselves. And I think that when we can spend time with ourselves, that's when we actually have like the healthiest relationships with other people. Because when we feel angry or sad or depressed, we're not necessarily bringing all of those emotions into every single one of our relationships. We can sit with those emotions and process them and then share them in a very compassionate way with other people. And we don't have to rely on that relationship to help us through. I've said this on TikTok before, and I've never said it here, I don't think. But as adults, we have to be responsible for the decisions that we make for ourselves. When something goes wrong and, just to bring in a personal example, you get stuck downtown because your city floods from rain, you have to be able to adapt in that moment to, one, be with yourself for longer because you expected to be home, you expected to be out with friends, but here you are stuck. You can feel more calm in that scenario when you have more experience being with yourself. You can also make better decisions when you realize like, hey, I know when to be with myself and when to lean on community and when to just make a snap decision for my life that will actually be helpful for me right now. And we can't allow people to always step in to make those decisions for us, or we're never going to step into being like fully adults. We're always going to have that inner child in us. Of course, there's always going to be that part of you that is there. But at the same time, we also need to have an inner parent or be the parent for our inner child so that we can help ourselves through life. So there's a balance. We want to have others to help us in some ways, but we also can't rely 100% on relationships for us to like make it through life. Otherwise, we're going to be outsourcing our happiness, our joy, our feelings to other people instead of having that power, that personal power within ourselves. And truly, that's what I think empowerment is it's not necessarily power, but it's having personal power and confidence and trust that you can get through things. And a lot of that has to do with being understanding that who I am when I'm on my own in silence is love, and I can really be with myself and feel joy. I don't need other people to necessarily help me with that, but I can find that within. We need this balance. And to me, being a Libra, balance is so important. So I think that as much as Libras are very partnership oriented, it also shows me that the opposite sign is like Aries, which is the ego, and we need both sides of ourselves to feel whole. We can't just lean into one or the other. Though there are times and seasons in our life where we will have to, we need both to come together in the bigger picture so that we know that we're okay within relationships, we're okay with intimacy and vulnerability, not only with ourselves, but with others as well. So for this week, I want you to carve out at least 5 minutes, and that's it, 5 minutes of your time any day of this week to sit with yourself. If you think that this is going to slip your mind, pull out your phone right now and put it in your calendar so that you know maybe like Tuesday at 8 p.m. for 5 minutes you're going to sit with yourself. Or Thursday at, 8 a.m. you're going to just listen to one of your favorite songs. Take this time for yourself because you matter, and it matters that you take this time to go within. And if you're not ready to go within, at least just spend these 5 minutes with yourself, because just as much as you would want your relationships and the people in your life to want to spend time with you, this is a mirror showing you that, hey, maybe I should also want to spend time with me too. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this podcast episode, please subscribe, drop a comment, let me know what you think. And also join Flow Notes because there's so many cool things that are going to be popping up in your inbox that will tell you about each season, and then monthly influences of just things flowing through me energetically. That's it for this week. See you next Tuesday.